Uh, Good morning and Tashi Delek to everyone. On behalf of the Department of Education, Central Tibetan Administration, I would like to extend my warm greetings to His Eminence Professor Samdhong Rinpoche, former Kalon Tripa of Central Tibetan Administration, Honorable Education Kalon Tharlam Dolma Changra, respected Secretary Jigmey Namgyal, our esteemed educators participating in the two-day symposium on enhancing Tibetan school education, and all the other dignitaries present here. With the blessing of His Holiness the Dalai Lama and the kind permission of His Eminence Professor Samdhong Rinpoche, it is my honor to begin the opening program of this two-day symposium. So to start with, I would like to request Secretary Mr. Jigmey Namgyal to deliver the welcome address for the symposium.
Tashi Delek and good morning. Jino Konsa Kembucham Chola Kuja, Mundu Pibetone. Respected His Eminence Professor S. Rinpoche Ji, Education Kalon Madam Tharlam Dolma La, distinguished educationist, and my dear colleague friends. It's my immense pleasure to welcome you all to this symposium on enhancing Tibetan school education. I'm truly delighted to see such a distinguished gathering of educators who share a deep commitment to the cause of education. This symposium reflects our collective dedication to improve educational practices, nurturing cultural identity, and expanding opportunities for our youth to excel both academically and morally. A similar meeting was convened some 11 years ago in 2013, and I'm pleased to know that some of you who have participated in that gathering are present here again today. Based on the recommendation of that gathering, the Department of Education has initiated and implemented a number of programs which has benefited our students and parents. As many of you know, education has been one of the top priority of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama after coming into exile. Recognizing its transformative importance, His Holiness emphasized the importance of providing Tibetan children with traditional and modern quality education, because it is the only way to develop a brighter future. Consequently, number of Tibetan schools were established in India, Nepal, and Bhutan. Today, we have around 62 schools in India and Nepal under 4 different school systems. So on this long journey of educating Tibetan children, we are profoundly grateful to the government and people of India, as well as many organizations and individuals who have supported us on this journey. I often mention in my discussion that out of the modest budget of Central Tibetan Administration, we allocate around 30% for the education of Tibetan children. And I believe this percentage is way higher than what other nation allocates to their education. Finland, if I'm not wrong, maybe around 7%, Norway maybe 13%, and our host country, India, 3%. But even then, we are unable to get the desired result. I don't know, perhaps in line with today's world, leveraging technology for personalized learning could be instrumental in addressing gaps and ensuring progress for every individual. Our vision is to build a future rooted in deep cultural identity, rooted in freedom, innovation, and genuine democracy. A future where our people can preserve their unique identity and also live harmoniously with the nature as our ancestors did for the past many centuries. Our goal is not merely to produce academically brilliant students who secure corporate jobs and think of themselves only. Indeed, we do aspire for academic excellence because there's no room for mediocrity. We want our children to develop a genuine human intelligence, an intelligence characterized by 3 C's: compassion, creativity, and critical thinking, not one entirely dependent on AI, artificial intelligence. As part of our basic education policy, we aim to nurture individuals who can differentiate between their genuine needs and excessive greeds. As Professor Rinpoche often reminds us, that many of our desires are dictated by the corporations. So we must embrace a minimalist mindset. This is true, otherwise we risk perpetuating a consumeristic society and contributing to the global challenges of global warming, climate change. Moreover, the true purpose of education, holistic personal growth, and societal growth will remain unfulfilled. I would like to share here that I had the honor of serving Professor Rinpoche as his private secretary when I was newly recruited in the Central Tibetan administration. Those 10 years of working directly under Rinpoche's guidance remain as the most valuable foundation, the punji, as we say in Hindi, the capital that I carry with myself in my role as an administrator. Secondly, unlike other nationalities, we Tibetans have a special responsibilities at this critical juncture in the history of Tibet. So we must prepare a future by nurturing generations of dedicated individuals who will carry forward our struggle, no matter how long it takes. Maybe next 50 years, a century, or more than that. Therefore, we envision a future marked by excellence and a purpose, preparing individuals who work for the well-being of 8 billion human beings, Dovarik too, as His Holiness always emphasized. And also, we strive to prepare individuals who work for the restoration of Tibetan freedom. To achieve these goals, we may need to adapt to the challenges of the ever-evolving education system. Alongside providing quality education, addressing the declining number of students in our school remains one of our big challenges. If enrollment in these schools continues to drop down, then the very purpose of establishing a separate schools for our children in India will be at risk. Inside Tibet, not only under the present colonial system of boarding school education, generally Tibetan children were barred from learning Tibetan language and culture. For our primary schools in Tibetan settlements, because in some of our primary school we have only 10, 12 students, and maybe it will continue to drop down. So for them, we may need to develop a multi-grade curriculum system for integrated learning of mixed-age schools. In fact, the challenges our school faces are mentioned, are highlighted in the agendas of this symposium. And also in the coming years, we anticipate a growing number of Tibetan school-going children in North America, Europe, Australia, and other parts of the world. So it's crucial to support them, those who are going to weekend schools in those countries, by providing them Tibetan reading materials, teacher training, and other resources. Otherwise, though they are Tibetan by blood and born, but they may assimilate it in their host country cultures. This gradual distancing from one's tradition is a significant challenge, and it is not only confined to Tibetans living abroad. In India itself, in our community also, we are facing this kind of issues. Therefore, today's symposium provides a platform to explore innovative strategies, share best practices, and address the unique challenges faced by Tibetan schools. From curriculum development and teacher training to the integration of technology and culture studies, our discussions will pave the way for a more realistic and future-ready education system. We are honored to have with us a distinguished panel of speakers and experts who have dedicated their lives to the cause of education. Your insights and experience will undoubtedly enrich us, understanding and inspire new pathways for growth. So let us take this opportunity to collaborate, learn from one another, collectively craft a vision for an education system that not only ensures academic excellence, but also fosters resilience, compassion, and a strong sense of identity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Secretary Jigmey. As per the program, this will be followed by offering of our traditional ceremonial rice, which is called desi, and Tibetan tea, which I feel has been placed on your tables. So I would like to offer this, which is generally offered on to celebrate auspicious events. So today's program is not just an important program for us, but an auspicious as well. So while you enjoy the ceremonial rice and tea, I kindly request each of our esteemed educators to provide a brief self-introduction, and the detailed profiles of each of the esteemed educators are already compiled and it's placed on your table. So I would like to request from Geshe Lhagdullah onward, and I would like to request each of you to kindly say it in the mic. Kolo gyuwe gebo ton chendo geba sambe sange kala kandu thela thuden zumba jire sila chupa.
My humble respect to Rinpoche, Minister, Secretary, and all the distinguished guests. I don't think there is any need to give an elaborate explanation about me. It is all there. So if you are interested, read that. And I call myself a lucky person because I was born in Tibet and came into exile in a free country and got the opportunity to study both in the monastery and also in a secular, proper Tibetan education. And then also got this wonderful opportunity to work under His Holiness and listen to all his teachings. So in that way, to some extent, I can say I'm a little bit product of modern education as well as the traditional education. Thank you.
Mike.
I'm Krishna Kumar. Most of my career was about teaching. Now I devoted myself entirely to writing. My association with Dharamshala and Tibetan education system is quite old. In fact, I owe many aspects of my life and health and eyes to Tibetan medicine. Dr. Samdhong has been my teacher about health and caregiver. So I'm very grateful to this whole patch of history which brought His Holiness to India and the Menze Khan to Dharamshala, and this remarkable system of medicine which is embedded deeply in Tibetan culture. I have nothing but gratitude for it. I wish all of you well. Thank you.
Sashidilek. I am Latika Gupta. I teach at Department of Education, Delhi University. I have been serving the Central Tibetan Administration, DOE, since 2014. I have had the pleasure of interacting with almost 600 teachers. I visited about 30 schools, and I was very fortunate to be able to contribute to a very important project or a mission that the DOE started here, which was an early grade reading. And while developing reading material for Tibetan children and translating some of the English classics, I also developed a keen interest in Tibetan. Right now, my university, Indian higher education system is going through a major crisis. And in the middle of this crisis, I draw inspiration and some sanity from my Tibetan students in Delhi University. I look forward to this two-day-long symposium.
Honorable Samdhong Rinpoche, Kyangwa Samdhong Rinpoche, Education Kalon, and eminent analyst. I'm my ordained name is Tenzin. I was brought up by TCV when 5 years of age, and got all the schooling from TCV, and then went to the college in Chandigarh. And after completing my schooling there, in the college studies, and started serving as a teacher there in Ladakh. And overall, I've served for 38 years as a teacher, as a principal with a different capacity. And 2 years, recently, means like 3-4 months ago, I got retired. I got the voluntary retirement to provide opportunity to give the space for the younger generation and the younger leaders. And yes, so I was not a monk 7 years ago. I got ordination from His Holiness Dalai Lama in Kalon. And this is it. And then I'm very thankful for Kalon and the members of Department of Education giving me the opportunity, even though I'm not a scholar, but had an experience being a teacher for so many years. So I hope to gain lots of experiences here, and whatever I have gained over 38 years, I will openly share. Yeah, thank you so much.
Padmaji, please.
I'm Padma Sarangapani, and I work at the Center of Excellence in Teaching Education at Tata Institute of Social Sciences in Bombay. This is my first experience of visiting you all and interacting with you personally, but colleagues of mine have worked with the Central Tibetan Agency providing digital literacy for school teachers in your system, my colleague Dr. Amina Charania. I'll just mention a few things for my work which may be relevant for the deliberations today and tomorrow. I have had students, Tibetan students, working with me. One in particular has been concerned about how to enable students retain interest and engagement with Tibetan culture. And she participated in a course I taught on material development and design, trying to solve this problem and come up with appropriate resources. I've also worked with Bhutan on developing teacher professional development for STEM education, and this may be of relevance in this conference. One of my doctoral students has been researching an interesting and relevant issue, which is of transition to higher education of Tibetan students who are in refugee camps in Nepal. And he has some very important learnings from that I hope I can bring into this conference. I have been recently engaging with questions of secondary school students' transition into the world of work and how to make work opportunities to understand the world of work within secondary school itself. There are some valuable insights that I hope you will find relevant as well. I look forward to these deliberations.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you. Yes?
Yeah, it's working.
It's working. Thank you so much, Dorjila and others for inviting me to be a part of this meeting. As you said, I have been here 11 years ago, and I remember some of you from then. It's wonderful to be back. I'm Kamala Mukunda. I live and work in a school campus which is outside Bangalore. It's called Center for Learning. It's so nice to see that several people here have visited us. I hope that in the years to come, all of you will come sometime and be hosted by us at school. I have done a few things during my 30-year working life, which I think are relevant to our meeting today, tomorrow. I think the main one is that sustaining the work of a school inspired by Jiddu Krishnamurti's educational philosophy. And it, line for line, word for word, it echoes what is in your, the basic Tibetan education policy and what you spoke in the morning. And I just want to say it is so rare for me to hear people say in those words that that is the function and true aim of education. And I have, left my school and visited many other places where we say similar things. So I feel less alone today listening to you. So I think what I would like to contribute is how do you translate a deep philosophy into a practice? That is, I think, the challenge of many of the Krishnamurti schools in India and ours too. I would like to share about that. The other thing that I would like to share is I have my own learning journey into the psychology of child development and learning, which I have been sharing through talks and writings of various kinds, and if it is relevant, I would bring it here. I just was thinking back to the 2013 meeting, and if I may list 3 things that I know of, huge areas of progress for your schools. One would be the early foundational literacy program, very rigorous, very beautiful piece of work. The other is the school libraries and training librarians. I know a lot of work has gone into that. And thirdly, the teacher training workshops, school-based teacher development. I know a lot of good work has gone into that. And yet there is still work to be done, as I recognize in the questions that you have listed so clearly. So I look forward to contributing to that. And I look at this as a huge responsibility. It will not end with these 2 days for me. I have kept the schools in my mind and in my heart, and I will continue to do so.
I sincerely prostrate in front of Rinpoche and my deep respect to Kalon and Secretary and of course all the staffs of Department of Education, CTA. When I received this invitation, I kept in my file for a few days because मैं थका हुआ इंसान हूँ. So I just kept it for a few days without responding the mail. And today when I'm here, it seems that there are so many things to learn. I have nothing to contribute. I'm a learner throughout my life, and today also I will learn many things from this symposium. And definitely I will carry forward those, you can say, learning to make my life better and better so that I can do better to the humanity. These are the certain principles I used to carry when I was in school. And whatever I feel about the education, I already contributed, or I should say I have done my duty when I was in Department of Education and in the schools. अब तो सीनियर सिटीजन में आ जाते हैं, तो उतना क्या करिए हम. लेकिन इस जर्नी में especially in the exile education, it's a very, very interesting journey, and many countries can learn about this journey in exile, especially. We have done lots of things for the self-improvement. At the same time, we have shared many good things to the different countries. For example, when I just talk about the Simon Fraser University in Canada, they have devoted a part of their teacher training practicum in our schools. And it went for decades, more than decades, I think. So many of the universities they have learned, especially when the Central Tibetan administration introduced a basic education policy. And the basic education policy is not the policy for the Tibetans, actually it's the policy for the whole of the world. When we study about the 2020 education policy of India, many of the basic education policy contents are definitely in the 2020 policy also. Now point is, we have to act. We have to be more stronger, and we have to sacrifice and do many things in these areas. So I wish we can do better all the time, and in these 2 days also we can bring out so many takeaways so that we can make our school better and better, and at the same time we can show the way to the other schools also. Thank you, sir.
Good morning, everyone. My respect and regards to all the dignitaries present here today. My name is Neha Vaidya, and I come from Pune, Maharashtra. I serve as the COO in an NGO called as I Teach Schools. We are a network of schools who serve the underserved populations in our place. We operate these schools in public-private partnerships. So all our schools, our 12 schools, are working in collaboration with the local governments. So we are trying to bridge the gap which the government has not been able to bridge. So it could be access to secondary education, it could be quality of education in primary grades, it could be availability of better quality teachers. So whatever the government is requiring in those local places is what we are trying to bridge. We are committed to serve the underserved for sure, and that's why we are working with the local governments, because fortunately, unfortunately, I don't know, but the underserved populations are now only going to government schools. Those who cannot afford education at all are ending up in that system and ending up getting even poor quality education. So we are committed to serve those students. It is a privilege and great honor to be here today in this symposium. I am thoroughly impressed with the material that was shared before. And when I read through it, I was like, oh, you are hitting all the correct points. You are focusing on FLN and with great results. You are focusing on teacher development. You are doing great work with school principals. What is it that you require? Because when I see the education gaps in the government system where I work, they are humongous. We are not even close to where you have reached. But then I realized that your commitment and dedication towards taking your schools from good to great is what you're looking for. And that gives me immense happiness that you're looking at it in such a wonderful way. So happy to be here and contribute in whichever way I can. Thank you.
thank you so much to all the esteemed educators for the brief self-introduction. Following this, I would like to invite Honorable Education Kalon Tharlam Dolma Changra to deliver the opening remarks.
His Eminence, Professor Samdhong Rinpoche, Chair, Chief Guest of today's Symposium on Enhancing Tibetan Schools Education, Education Secretary, and all the highly learned educationists who have come here as invited to take part in the symposium, and all other officers and also the DOE section officers who have come to attend this symposium. After hearing all the participants introducing, and particularly when Geshe Hathola said he was born in Tibet and educated and working in India, likewise, I feel that in few words, I should also introduce myself because some of you may not know. I was also like Geshe Hathola, born in Tibet, brought up in India, educated in India, served in India in Central Tibetan Schools Administration for 37 years, starting as an honorary primary school teacher, then as a postgraduate teacher in economics for 14 years, then served as a principal grade 1 in Central Tibetan Schools Administration for 23 years, and happily retired in 2013, end of August. Now, and hopefully, born in Tibet, hopefully will die in Tibet, not in exile. Since our Education Secretary has given, in his welcome talk, the aims and objective of Department of Education in length and depth, I think there's no point in repeating. He has dealt in depth and very, very in minute detail. I will just, instead of repeating, I just would like to give a bird's eye view of Department of Education and what we have done so far. This Department of Education, given the full responsibility of taking care of Tibetan children's education, started in 1960 with just one education minister and 3 staff. 4. Now we have bloomed into 47, and most of the staff officer in Department of Education are female. So it is a female-dominated Department of Education. And second part I would like to say is that basic education policy in which the Professor Samdhong Rinpoche has enshrined the vision of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So as pointed out by one of the participants, our education system is very, very different from the rest of the world. Our education system focused not in getting high-fi job or high-paid salary, but our education system focus on ensuring that our Tibetan children get modern education, traditional education, plus they become a good human being, so that they can not only serve a Tibetan community, but wherever they go, in any part of the world, they will be contributing in the best possible way as visioned by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. We have a permanent standing Education Council and Education Advisory Committee in Department of Education, chaired by Geshe Hadola, and they have been the main source of source from where we get the suggestion and advices as what we should do. And somewhere in 2019, it was stated that in the meeting of Education Advisory and Council meeting, Geshe Hadola stated that it's not enough that we deliberate, discuss in the meeting. It's important that every member should visit all the schools, understand, make an assessment in what way we can bring about changes and improve the education system. So since 2019, we have, in fact, 2019, as an Education Council member, I visited all the southern schools, took nearly 1 month, and for 2 years due to COVID, we couldn't. Then 2022, 23, 24, all the learned members of council, they have been visiting all the schools in India, and not only inspecting the classroom teaching, but also talking to the student, talking to the teacher, talking to the parents, trying to get all the information as to what, in which way they can improve the education system. Now, our academic section headed by Tenziin Dorjee has prepared the leaflet which was put in, provided to you. And on every agenda, we have 5 agenda. After a thorough study and in-depth discussion, because after this council member visited different schools for the past 4 years, and education secretary and myself also, in 3 years, we have visited about 50 schools, 16 pre-primary, and 8 monastic schools, to really get what is exactly needed, where we stand. And we also, when we visit school, we make sure that every class is inspected randomly, reading, writing, and their comprehension skill, everything assessed randomly in every class. And we, as they have done, we also have a meeting with the teachers separate, students and the parents. And therefore, we are able to understand what exactly, where we stand. Are we able to fulfill the vision of His Holiness? Are we able to move according to the basic education policy enshrined, or whatever philosophies are enshrined in the basic education policy? Now, in the booklet which is given to you, you will understand one of the biggest concerns is the declining enrollment. In 2012, the strength was 23,684. Now in 2024, August, it is 13,575. So it has declined more than 10,000. Now the question arises, why does this decline? Is it because of lack of proper facilities? No. The facilities that we have provided in our Tibetan school, thanks to the Government of India and the donors from all over the world, we have provided, I have just made a note, 528 classroom reading corners are developed, 229 home and hostel reading corners, 825 educators are trained in strategic teaching skill, and 84 librarians were trained. And likewise, this just highlighting just otherwise there are so many trainings, workshops conducted to make sure that our teachers, educators are carrying out their tasks effectively. And not only that, even to the extent of conducting workshop for the parents. And we have also conducted training for 2,681 parents how to foster awareness and support early reading practice. And when you look at this, in a nutshell, I have just given a bird's eye view. We have done much more than that. So lack of facility is not the reason why number of students or the strength has declined, dropping so fast. The three factors: first, inflow, students coming from Tibet to India, which was in a massive scale from 1990 till 2008, dropped. Chinese have stopped, and they are put in the colonial-style boarding school. Then, mass immigration to Europe and America. And third, low birth rate. So these are the three main reasons why there's a tremendous decline in the strength of schools. And another thing I have, during a recent visit to different schools, one of the biggest concern, the very disturbing thing that I felt was that in July, after visiting 5 settlements where the strength is 1,972, we found 37 students who are in need of special care. And for a small strength, to have special need student 37 is too much. Then after getting back, we conducted a survey in all the 4 education systems, TCV, Holmes Foundation, Samdhong, and Sunoline Foundation. Now we are getting information that 294 students are coming in the category of special needs. Visual impairment, hearing and speech impairment, 61, visual, 71, specific learning disability, 110, mental problem, 10, multiple disorder, 5, blood disorder, 2, chronic neurological disorder, 12, total 294. And when we're having just 13,575, to have this number is quite alarming. And that is why we have put this in the agenda. Hopefully, we'll get right guidance as to what we should do. Another thing we have found is that the concentration span of our student is now so less. When I was a teacher, I can talk for 45 minutes, our student will listen so attentively. But now hardly 10, 15 minutes, they are distracted. What could be the reason? Hopefully, the learned expert will give us the suggestion. And then there are also some are very hyper caused by what? Home environment or school environment or what? That also needs to be taken care. And another problem we face is that most of our teachers, especially in STSs, are on contractual basis. And that is one reason why so many principals and head teachers keep on resigning one after another. For that, we are trying to find a solution to make them regular. Now, the positive side, dramatic positive change I have noticed. Going back to my teaching period to now, our Tibetan students have become very smart. Our Tibetan students' vocabulary, in Tibetan vocabulary, very rich, which was not so when I was a teacher or working in a school. Our Tibetan students' interest in Tibetan art and culture, it has become much more than what it was. And our Tibetan children, there was a time when we want them to become school prefect or school class prefect. Everybody says, no, I don't want to be. But now everybody wants to become school leader, school prefect. And the participation in Tibetan literary activities, cultural activities has increased manifold compared to those days. So this is the most positive side of, and that I think we should thank a basic education policy formulated by Professor Samdhong Rinpoche. And I just give a brief information, hoping that this will act as a, when you deliberate, it will serve as a background on which you can give your suggestion. Thank you so much.
Next, I am privileged to request His Eminence Professor Samdhong Rinpoche, former Kalon Tripa of Central Tibetan Administration, to deliver the keynote address.
Vidute kalpana jalam gambhiro dharmartahe naman samanta badriya samanta trishe Venerable monks, distinguished educationist, panelist, Honorable Kalon, Secretary, the Department of Education, CTA, and all the friends present here. I was asked to make a keynote address in this very important symposium on enhancing Tibetan school education. I'm not fit person for this job. However, since my colleagues and friends have insisted, I have to agree to do this. Of course, I will not be able to make justice. Nevertheless, I will fulfill the decorum or the program. Every program you need to be a opener, inaugurator, or keynote address, something like that. So this is a formality which is attached to our way of doing. Why I say I am not qualified to do this job, because it is on education. I myself considered as an uneducated person, lazily and happily living in the 7th century civilization and without caring for the modernity or postmodern civilization. Sometimes I wonder how I survive in this 21st century, carry a living way of 7th century civilization. Of course, we get a little bit of shiksha that cannot be considered as education. Why I say I am uneducated? I am not touched by the force of education, particularly coming from the British Empire, Macaulay system. So that I may consider I am quite fortunate enough. And secondly, the medium is English language for this symposium, a language which I do not have any capacity to express myself fully without any problem. In spite of that, I am here, so I have to say a few things which may not be useful or practicable. Many may think what I am speaking is a kind of utopia idea. But nevertheless, what I have in my mind, I shall have to honestly say before you. The title for the symposium, Enhancing Tibetan School Education. So I am not able to correctly understood what does mean by enhancing. Enhancing can be in quantity, enhancing can also be in quality, or it can be interpreted many ways. But my understanding is that enhancing means whatever education we are conducting, in the name of education we are conducting in the schools, should have a more holistic way and more training of the mind instead of training of the heart, training of the brain alone. The training of heart must be included in our process of educating the younger generation. So I took it as enhancing the way and the quality of the education which are prevailing today. If I look from the Buddhist viewpoint, all the phenomena in this universe are all interdependently arising thing. Not a single phenomenon is arising independently or by its own nature. This is the Buddha's basic teaching and elaborately commented by Acharya Nagarjuna. So in this way, to improve the quality of education or learning process, it has many contributors to make it interdependently arising. The contributors are two nature. One is in the process of causality. The cause of quality education should be improved, thereby the quality of education itself can be improved. And the second is the immediate contributors. When the process of learning during itself, how to make it is more qualitatively, the same 10 contributors are more important than the causality contributors. First, what are the cause of good education which can be imparted to the younger generation? They need a number of clear vision or understanding. Here, when I use the word understanding, it meant for experiential realization, not a blind faith. I use the word blind faith is all those mindset which is accepting something which was said by someone else and not knowing by oneself. That all belongs to a kind of blind faith. Understanding and accepting is a two different things. Actually, education is to make the students to understand by their own intellect, not to believe. Someone said, it may be Buddha. Buddha have emphatically said that do not believe what I have said. You should examine it by yourself. Like a goldsmith examines the gold by cutting it, by burning it in the fire, and by rubbing it on the stone. Like that, whatever I have said, you shall have to analyze and examine, and then you understand whether I have said right or the wrong, then that is your knowledge. So for a good education, the educators, the parents, and the school administration, all of these three components are important contributor. And they should know few things perfectly. The first is what is education? The second is what is the purpose of the education? The third is what is the method to impart that? These three components must be understood, not just having knowledge, but experiential understanding is absolutely necessary. Particularly for the teachers, this is indispensable. And very briefly, I would say what is the education? What is the nature of education? Education, in Buddhist term, there are three things: the moral discipline, the concentrative mind, and the wisdom. This threefold entity is shiksha, that means education. To have an education, through that education, the educated person must be able to understand what is ethical and what is not ethical, and how to lead an ethical life. Moral discipline is the first thing. And the secondly, the mind should be able to free from all kind of destruction and able to concentrate on one point deeply. And the third is thereby awakening of the inner wisdom. The final education is cannot be imparted from outside. It shall have to be arising from within. My friend, philosopher and guide, Jiddu Krishnamurti used to say very repetitively, the purpose of education is to awaken inner intelligence of the individual, so that he or she can flower in goodness. If the inner intelligence is arising, awakening, then the person need not to be taught what is good and what is bad, and it will flower automatically in goodness. So therefore, the nature of education is to help, to assist the learner, the student, how to awake the individual's inner strength of wisdom, which is disturbed by so many conditionings, and that conditions need to be removed, and independent and unconditioned. Sometimes I used to call it original mind, need to be awakened. That can only happen, the teacher and the student both works jointly as a collective learner and not accepting anything which is not realized as a conclusion of one's own analytical mind. So that is the nature of education. The purpose of education must be human individuals are basically non-violent, compassionate, and cooperator. Human beings are always social being. In the West End, they used to say it's a social animal. Why should we call the man as animal? We are social beings. Social being means we can live with the society. We are kind of society means a relationship. A crowd does not make a society. A relationship can only be positive when both sides have a loving kindness. And loving kindness is a basic nature of human mind. So to awakening of that mind metaphorically say resides in the heart. So brain and heart has two different functions. The purpose of education, His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama says, warm heart. Warm heart. Warm heart means compassionate heart. There should be purpose. And the method, the method. Method is very clearly described in the Buddhist teachings. First, knowledge from hearing. Hearing means from hearing from the teacher or reading from the books, whatever it may be. The second is contemplating, chintan. Shrutimai pragyan is the first one. That is borrowed knowledge taught by teacher or read from books or hearing from the traditions, whatever it may be. There is a borrowed knowledge, and that borrowed knowledge shall have to be converted into one's own knowledge through examination, through analyzing. That is chintanmaya pragyan. And through that analyzation, you reach to a conclusion or the facts, knowing the facts. Then you shall have to be meditate on that. By meditation, then that conceptual mind will be converted into perceptual mind, direct knowing, direct seeing, and that is the Chintanmaya Pragyan. The Chintanmaya Pragyan is the real education. Then that is not borrowed knowledge, that is knowledge depend on brain, that knowledge appearing from, awaking from inner person, from the heart. So that kind of method we need to be understood. The teacher, the students, the parents, and the school administration, administrators, everybody have a sufficient knowledge of, sufficient knowing of this nature of education, purpose of education, and method of educating. Then they will capable of running a school or administering a kind of educational institution which may be beneficial to the entire younger generation, whosoever is getting that education. Now the present contributor, not the cause of the contributor, which contributor goes through at the moment of the learning process. The contributors are the teacher, the students, and the course of syllabi and method of teaching. These are the immediate contributors. From the Buddhist viewpoint, the entire education is depend on the teacher. Unless and until the teacher has basic 10 qualities to become a teacher, which is prescribed by Maitrinath in his great work, Sutra Alankar. He mentioned 10 basic qualifications to become a teacher. So I don't have time to go into the details, but the indispensable qualities are: number 1, compassionate mind, great love to the student, and secondly, perfect knowledge of the subject which is going to be taught. And thirdly, a humility to do the learning process not as a teacher and taught, but as a co-learner, joint searching for the subject. The teacher might be very proficiency in his subject, yet when they imparting the knowledge to the students, again the teacher shall have to become a student, jointly searching the subject, something like that. So, there is shortcomings in the qualification of a student. The teacher must have the capacity to remove those shortcomings. When I was a school principal, my colleague teachers used to complain to me, the students are not taking interest. So when I used to say, the interest has to be created by you. You are, as a teacher, if you are not able to create interest in the mind of a student, then how we can be claimed? It cannot be blamed for the students. The interest does not come right from the birth. The interest shall have to be cultivated and giving the understanding the purpose and importance of education, thereby the students shall able to take interest. Without knowing that, the education become just a labor, a burden, then it will not work properly. Then similarly, roughly there are number of different methods, as I mentioned before, and also as a co-learner, the teacher will be able to create intense interest and curiosity in the mind of the student. Thereby, the student, without needing any pushing or fear of examination, only for the sake of understanding and wisdom, he or she able to work intensely, full-heartedly, due to the knowing the purpose of education and having great inspiration for that purpose of education, and by that he or she doing the learning process, then it will never feel tiredness or difficult for the student, but it must be a part of happiness and enjoyable. That shall have to be created by the subject as well as by the teacher. And usually in the present system, reward and punishment are being used as a handy method of giving education to the students. Someone giving reward and someone be giving punishment. And the basis of this, the evaluation system, the examination system. If we deeply examine the examination system, you will find it is more finding out what the students do not remember. It cannot find out what the students know, what is the special quality of the student. Particularly, one thing the modern education system almost completely forgotten is the uniqueness of each student. I mean, the uniqueness of each individual. In humanity, each individual humanity has a different capacity, different quality, different liking and disliking. Why the Buddha taught the students nothing goes in West, and ordinary people taught students most of them goes West. And Arahanta or Bodhisattva, Arya Bodhisattva, they are taught majority of this become useful. It is said in the Shastras. Why? Buddha knows the particularity of the listener. Each individual has a different nature or different way of knowing things or all these things. It is very clear in this earth, globe of earth, we say 8 million people are living. Among the 8 million people, you will not able to find 100% identical face. Even the twin children, they are also little bit different. So it shows that each individual is unique, different from the other. So our education system is a kind of uniform way of imparting. So the individual attention is become less and less. So a good teacher must be able to know we cannot know entirely, but roughly we should be able to comprehend or inference what kind of children, what kind of individual is liking, disliking, and also capacity, and what kind of education shall be given to them. So these are the basic important to have in-depth research of each individual student, to whom what kind of treatment, what kind of subject, what kind of way to suitable. So in a short, individual attention is most important. So these are the basic contributors: the teacher, the children, the parents, and the school administration. And their relationship must be a kind of collaborator to achieve the purpose of education. So that makes a real educational institution, and through which we may hope that purposeful and the very nature of education can be achieved. So this symposium have been very rightly arranged, and very well-known great educators and scholars have been invited, and they have kindly agreed to come. And this is, I appreciate great achievement of the Department of Education. And they also planned this very well. The points to be considered, to be discussed, the agenda and agenda notes are very well prepared. And I hope in the 2 days deliberation you will gain a lot of insights how to do in the future. But the agenda number 3, about the decreasing of newcomers in the admission in the schools, that may not be that problem may not be solved by the educators, by the experts you have invited. It is always depend on the basic population of the refugee community. So for that, the department shall have to be think about, and of course there's no method to increase population immediately, but in accordance with the decreasing population, the management, the administration, how to deal with it. Apart from that, the other 4 questions are very important, and I very much confident that the scholars who have joined this symposium will give you very profound advice, and the more important is those advice and directions shall have to be implemented in work. That is always depend on the department. And you have a good staff and good leadership and educationist Kalon. So I think this is a very best time to do something for the improvement of the education of the Tibetan children. Tibetan children has a unique universal responsibility. The unique universal responsibility is to preserve and hand it over to the coming generation. Coming generation, it does not mean only for the Tibetan new generations. The entire world, which we have preserved until now, that is Buddhist teaching and Buddhist canon. Today, the Tibetan language is the only language in which the entire corpus of the Buddha's teaching is preserved and available. This language is very similar to the Sanskrit language. Whatever is expressible in Sanskrit, that is expressible in Tibetan language. And only in this language, the entire canon, the Buddha's teachings, Buddha's own words, sutras and tantras, translated into Tibet. Only Digi Kanjur catalog, they are more than 1100 Buddha's teachings have been translated. And the Indian scholars' commentaries in the Tenzin, more than 5,000 titles have been translated. Kanjur is 108 volumes in Puthe, and Tenzin is about 220 volumes. So this is the largest corpus of Buddhist canon, which does not available in any other language, including Pali. Pali Tripitaka is very small, only 40 volumes. They included all the Tripitaka, and there's a very small amount of commentaries. So unless the Tibetan language is preserved, these canons will not be useful. Even they are translated, the process are going on, the entire Buddhist canon from Tibet is trying to translate into the English and other languages. 100-year project is going on. But any other language has the capacity to translate the canon accurately, as Buddha have said, whatever language he have used at that time. Because the language capacity, the Buddha's teachings are available in Sanskrit, Pali, Prakrit. These three languages are basically Buddha have taught, and all these three languages are a group of Sanskrit language, and which no any other language have the capacity to translate in 100% accurate. So therefore, the language is important, not only for the Tibetan people. What the language have preserved, the corpus of canon, is important for the entire universe. And for that purpose, we were not able to preserve and hand it down to the new generation, then we will be a kind of failing our universal responsibility and failing our responsibility to history, to the Dharma. So therefore, the education of the Tibetan younger generation has not only important for Tibetan people and its political struggle, it has a great responsibility for the preservation of Buddhism, its philosophy, its science and its religion altogether. So, therefore, the education of Tibetan children has a dual purpose and importance which need to be understood. I welcome all these scholars coming from distances, and hopefully you have no problem during stay here, and might have time to see little bit around the Dharamshala as well. It was very beautiful when we reached here in 1960. Now, of course, that beauty does not have today. In spite of that, there are some places worthwhile to sing. So, thank you very much. With these words, I will conclude. Not keynote address. I doesn't have any key to open the discussion, nor I have any note to be read. So, in spite of that, it may be considered as Madhyamikas as keynote address. Thank you.
Finally, to conclude the opening program, I would like to read out some of the word of thanks. First and foremost, I offer my sincere gratitude to His Eminence, Professor Samdhong Rinpoche, for graciously accepting our invitation to bless the inaugural day of this two-day symposium and for delivering the keynote address. Your profound insights on education and guidance have illuminated the path for our deliberations over the next 2 days and provided both the Department of Education and our esteemed educators with much needed clarity and direction. I would also like to express my sincere appreciation to Honorable Education Kalon, Tharlam Dolma Changra for making it a priority to attend this important opening program of the symposium despite recent health challenges. Your inspiring opening remarks have truly set the tone for this august gathering of educators. A special thanks goes to respected Secretary Jigmey Namgyal for extending a warm welcome to the participants and for his support and timely guidance in organizing this event. While we initially invited 13 educators from diverse backgrounds, a few could not join due to prior commitments, and 2 had to cancel at the last moment due to personal reasons. So despite these challenges, we are immensely grateful to all the esteemed educators present here today. Your commitment to deliberating on key agenda items and proposing actionable strategies to enhance Tibetan school education is deeply appreciated. Your presence not only reflects your commitment to the Tibetan education, but also symbolizes your support for the just cause of Tibet. As per our request, Professor Sudarshan Iyengar has sent his insights and thoughts on the agenda items of the symposium. The copy of his suggestion has been placed on your table, so I take this opportunity to thank him as well. I would also like to thank Dr. Kesawandu, the Education Program Coordinator of Alenia International, for kindly accepting our request to record the minutes of this symposium, ensuring that the discussions and the insights are well documented for future reference. Last but not the least, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to Global Affairs Canada for generously funding this event, and I also extend my sincere thanks to Mr. Wandu Sewangla, the owner of Hotel Nobu House, for his invaluable support, cooperation, and meticulous arrangements in hosting this event. So for the kind information of our esteemed educators, we are privileged to have among us the Director of Sambodha Tibetan School Society, Getsring Tundula, and Ngaon Lamula, the Education Director of TCV, and the section heads of the department and education officers of the Department of Education, who are here to observe and listen to the proceedings of this two-day symposium. I would also like to inform everyone that the proceedings of this symposium will be recorded for transcription and future reference. We appreciate your understanding and cooperation in this regard. Since we are already 10:30, there will be a slight change in the program schedule. We will take a 15 to 20 minutes break, and then we will come back. So the refreshment break that was earlier scheduled for 11 to 11:15 has been now preponed now after the opening program is over. So we will now take 15 to 20 minutes break, and then we'll come back, and the sharing and discussion on agenda will go out in one go. Thank you so much.